All right, it's time to do the Wednesday crossword, February 18th. This one is by Victor Schmidt. Somewhat familiar name. Yeah, I suppose he's had a few puzzles in, so I'm just gonna see how this turns out. Yeah, nothing more to say. Let's just carry on. So, oversized grid slightly. Let's take a look at if this. Oh, okay, something interesting going on here. This, and this. So, I wonder if there's something particular about that maybe these are some sort of phrases. It looks like there are only three of these. Yeah, I suppose there's only three of these phrases, but they look interesting enough, so I want to see what's going on. Let's just carry on with the beginning though. Genre for James Brown or Al Green informally. I believe it's R&B. It could be R&B, rhythm and blues. A fall guy has to take the rap, I think. Like has to just like take the hit, sort of like take the blame, take the fall. That's what the fall guy means, but maybe it's Turnstile could be nope. Remains could be like the dregs, sort of like the bottom of the barrel kind of thing. That's Amore is Dean Martin classic. Yep. Home of the Big 12 Cyclones. I think this is Ames, is a college city. I don't know. I don't know which college it is, but I know Ames is a place, so it might just be that. Dwindled away, petered out, maybe petered out. But then what is this? Turnstile. I suppose you could say not I. It's one of those phrases you'll see. I suppose not very common for sure. Like I don't want you guys to believe that this is sort of like common. Uh, like this is stuff that like because like you kind of see things like this and you like think like, well, how in the world are you supposed to get that? I don't know. It's a hunch. I mean, um, so these are like symbols of time. So signs of something. Okay, well I suppose what like something that's going on is you have uh emojis, which sometimes when you have a series of emojis you think of um as sort of showing a sequence of events happening, like a sort of a story, like a summary of a story, and you get perhaps a phrase that comes out of that, like the event that's going on. But I think what's going on with this theme is you have a lot of related just examples of something. So these are just examples of clocks or just timepieces, and these are just hand gestures, and then these ones are just sort of thoughts or speech things. Oh, figures of speech. I think that's what this is. Figures of speech, because these are meant to represent symbols or pictures of something. So figures of speech. I think this is what is this, and then what is this? Signs of time of some kind. Signs of I don't know. It might not be dregs. I think this is petered out though. Let me just take a look at what this might be. Leader of the Sharks in West Side Story. Okay, so the Sharks and the Jets, but um perhaps it's a Bernardo or something because Bernardo does seem like a name that what's Italian, and I know the Sharks are sort of the like the white neighborhood of the Italians because you have the I think the Jets are the Puerto Ricans. So Bernardo could be right. Um, then what is it? Signs of something else. Let's take a look at this. An observation and a gullible one. A gullible one could be a sap. I think this might be even a spile. I'm just gonna go with a spile for now. I think that might be it. Demon of Japanese folklore is Oni. Funnily enough, there was I mean, like Brawl Stars, which I had played up until recently. I deleted the game. I deleted the game off the home screen on my phone at least. I have not touched it in a while. But there used to be an event for like kind of like a sushi roll themed thing because there are a few Japanese characters in Brawl Stars, and then there was one sort of cosmetic skin that was an Oni, which is a Japanese demon, which was given to that Japanese character. So I do know outside of just crosswords that Oni is one of those words for a demon in Japanese folklore. That's what it is. A bounty. Um, well, I'm thinking it's probably not going to be bounty as in the reward on someone's head, just because I think they might go with something a bit more pleasant, a bit more PG. I think bounty would be I don't know, just a plethora of things perhaps. Maybe it's talking about a quantity. An irritated outburst could be bah. It could be other things as well. I'm not really sure. To fill an automobile, to maybe gas up. It might gas someone up to boost the confidence of. So an irritated outburst could be gah for sort of a cry of frustration. A deep chasm is an abyss. Um, okay, so what is this? Symbolic gestures. Right. Okay, symbolic gestures, figures of speech. Because these are symbols for sure. So what is this? Signs. Something clock or time. So I'm gonna see maybe what the last money is, what the last few letters might be. On the money could be exact, true, could be true. Freshness. Um, not sure. Oh, okay, let me go to this one. Ancient Greek marketplace is an agora. It's a pretty standard clue. I think you might recognize this if you see it again. International agreements. International agreements. Well, this could be some kind of foreign word meaning yes. Um, I suppose it could also mean like pacts. International agreements very directly could mean pacts. So on the money, I'm gonna go with true. Freshness. Oh, okay. So freshness is not actually like newness. It's freshness is just talking about like being fresh, as in sort of being sassy. One of the words you might use is fresh to as a synonym for sassy. So what is this? Heroine of Nintendo's Metroid is Zero Suit Samus. I know is one of those characters in Smash Bros. Zero Suit Samus, and there's also Samus, which is well, I also know that because Metroid is Samus. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Elbows and bow ties are pastas, sort of different pasta shapes. What is this one? Again, once more. Best-selling home computers of the 1980s. Um, Comcast. Well, I don't think I can use the word computer or a part of the word computer necessarily in the answer. Um, but look at this. This looks like this is times. Signs of the times. So something sign of the times, sort of a part of the current cultural zeitgeist of sort of trendy things happening. Signs of the times, symbolic gestures, figures of speech. I think that's the entire theme figured out. It's very nice. Um, yeah, I think that all that's left to do now is to go through the fill because we've gotten just like I don't know, just sort of inspired moments. Just seeing things like this. Figures of speech just kind of came out of nowhere. I'll be honest, but let's see what else there I can get. Take a look at this one. Locales for some urban gardens. Oh, on roofs. Okay, what about this one? A Gucci of fashion. Was it? I don't remember the name actually. Dido, Dado, Gucci, Dado, Plum Mad. Okay. Oh, Aldo Gucci. I think that's what it was. Aldo. So what is this? Biblical name for Syria. It's not Arab. Um, Aram? Because I know there's a ancient language called Aramaic. So maybe it's Aram? Like the accents in déclassé is acute accents, that's what they're called. What is this? Godzilla foe is uh what is it? What is it called? Godzilla and was it? It was not King Kong. What is this then? Godzilla foe. I have no idea then. Pepper. That's two steps above poblano. Oh, serrano pepper. It must be one very hot pepper then. If it's a poblano, actually is not even that hot. I think serrano is just somewhere in the beginning. Pepper. That's two steps. What defines two steps? Um. I suppose there might be a thing where you have there's some scales that depict things and there are certain representative examples of things. I can think of, for instance, the Mohs hardness scale, which lists a bunch of rocks, starting with examples of very soft rocks going up to something as hard as diamond, and they all have ratings. So perhaps there is a certain scale that the Scoville scale is on, because I know this the Scoville scale. The Scoville is also like a bunch of units. You have Scoville units, and they go up into the millions for certain really hot peppers. So perhaps the Scoville scale is slightly different, where it actually has a series of increasingly hotter peppers, just as a representation. It could be something like that. Um, but let's just continue on. Oh, Godzilla foe is Mothra. Funnily enough, I also know this just because of Brawl Stars, because there is another character who's basically like a, well, it's not important, but there is also a character that has a Mothra skin. So there's a Mothra and Oni skin. Perhaps this person, Victor Schmidt, is a Brawl Stars fan. Who knows? Small batteries are AAs. Let's just carry on. Just like it distracted from this. Okay, so this one I did predict it was not actually a bounty on someone's head. This is just an abundance. And some wand wielders. I may wield wands. I mean, I suppose TSA agents just for being a bit cute. But let's take a look. It includes this CCs. You might CC someone in an email. One of the 6 enemies of mine is an ego, I imagine. Old-fashioned word. That's a homophone of 49 across. Air, I suppose. Old-fashioned as in sort of poetic, but certainly like in the Shakespearean times. To write there for there is to make a mistake, is to err. Although some people in the UK actually, I actually did a puzzle. I had a puzzle idea that was centered around having a series of words where the clues were exact homophones, homonyms of the word it actually was. So, like for instance, my idea was if you had a clue where the answer was air, like this, then you should actually write this word in here. But it turns out this didn't work out, because some people in the UK, which is where I wanted to write this puzzle for, was they pronounce it like air, like sort of this is like air, and this is just to I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but like it's noticeably different. It's like something like, it's just like the word like but slightly I don't know. They're different words. They pronounce a bit differently depending on region, I suppose. But it's I don't know. Like I mean, like it doesn't matter to me. I for one don't know how this is meant to be pronounced, or this really. I just say air, so air could work. Some wand wielders are sorcerers, and a big name in water filters. I've seen this before. Pure. I think they put the 2 dots above it because it's a brand name and they're being a bit cute with that. But it's pronounced pure, so that's it. It's favorable starting point of an auto race. I don't know. Best selling home. The Commodores. I've heard of that, and um, sort of at some point in time when I was interested in like sort of video game video essays, essentially on YouTube, where they would just be talking about really old retro games and sometimes like certain systems. They talk about the history of games, world records, and such. And then Commodore was a name that showed up. Reservoir producer. Maybe a dam would produce a reservoir, a buildup of water in some way. Like some buns in bedroom. You have a messy bun, you have a messy bedroom. And on guard, you might be alert. And a sty is a slopping spot, is a place for a pig. And a pole. I don't know what a pole is in an auto race, but it's I don't know. I don't know. Learn something new. Maybe I'll see this again sometime. What is this? Terrence Howard, perhaps? What else could it be? I'm gonna go with that. Distressing encounter could be a scrape. A scrape like a close call could be distressing. Singer with the number one hit TikTok is Kesha, and an ark is a noted wildlife refuge. The ark, biblically. Digital capture, screenshot. Well, so because there are very few themers here, it's nice to have some long bonus words here, which is nice. So petered out Commodores. Screenshot's a fun one. I'll note. Firefighting aid is pose. Tete-a-tete is, well, tete-a-tete means face to face. So what is this? Oh, tete-a-tete could also, oh, tete-a-tete means of face to face as a noun. So it's a little chat. Reduced to crumbs could be eaten, and an X could represent 10, and to go after is to chase. So everything works out quite well. Pips. Humdingers. That's the only word that I see could fit with the letters I have right now. Humdingers. Let me just go with that. The Farm Service Agency is part of the USDA. I don't know what that stands for. U.S. Dairy Association? Because I know there are USDA stickers on milk. So dairy seems like a very specific thing to have an association for, administration even. Um, I think it's a U.S. something administration, possibly could be dairy. But sure, government's big. There might be an administration just for dairy. Oh, reminds me, I think, as far as dairy goes, I think there are still in the U.S. those big, what is it, cheese caves? And it's just a whole lot of cheese stored away since like the Great Depression or something. It's a huge surplus of cheese, and it's enough to feed the entire country for a year or two, I think. But that exists, and maybe the USDA manages that in secret because I don't think we're supposed to know about the cheese caves. Offensively odorous is noxious, a noxious odor. New workmates. New workmates. Perhaps it's not noxious. This doesn't look right, actually. Offensively odorous. Um, nauseating? Nauseous. No, how do you spell it? That doesn't work. Offensively odorous. Let's take a look at this one. Actor Zac Efron. What is this? Traditional rice cake is a mochi. Really fun words that are being included here. Just because, well, not as many theme letters means that you can afford to have interesting words. And mochi, Efron, they're nice ones. Kesha as well. These are better in my opinion than just standard three like 5 letter words like you find in the dictionary. Although there's nothing wrong with having five just like normal words, but it's nice to have a bit of some variety there, which this puzzle seems to do quite well. To cast, to cast, or it just be a cast noun. Don't know. Popular DIY website is eHow. Rackets could mean like loud noises or dins. So wraps up is sews up in a certain way. That's right. Cast. Okay, so cast is now talking about like a past tense of verb. Um, something if something was cast. Um, I don't know. I don't know, but there's plenty of opportunity around here. So Kara of fame. I feel like I've seen a Kara somewhere previously this year, but I can't think of it right now. An enchantress of Greek mythology is a siren in the Odyssey. Nincompoops are asses. Let's take a look at these S's. See if they're right. New workmates. Don't know. This is a iris, and what is this? Acronym on a W2. W2 form. You have a F blank SA. Federal something. I don't know what that acronym is. And I'm not really going to try guessing what it is. A meager measure of compassion. Wait, this is not an enchantress. Sorry. Enchantress is not I was thinking temptress, sorry. It's not a siren, it's Circe. Was an enchantress of Greek mythology. Sorry. I got my words mixed up there. A meager measure of compassion is an ounce. You might say figuratively that someone doesn't have an ounce of compassion. Meaning that so an ounce would be a measure of just like real liquids or weight, but it really could just also be like people do say ounce meaning like don't have a shred of compassion, for instance. Shred, ounce, smidgen, 1 iota of blah blah blah, blah stuff like that. Okay, this is fika. Then I actually do know this fika. I don't know what it stands for, but that doesn't matter. Kara Irene possibly could be a name. And what is this? New workmates are hirees. New hires, you might say hiree. Let's just say that. Offensively odorous is noisome, which is an interesting word because it makes you think that this, by the looks of it, it looks like this is very noisy, but it means bad smelling, which is interesting. QB's call is hut, I think. Hut. And there we go. We solved it in 20 minutes. All right, let's just look at some of the other ones that I didn't get. Cast is tossed. That's right, because you might cast a few things. You might cast a net. You might cast some dice, I think. What is this? Manipulate is to use. Yes, QB's called is to hut. I thought it was hup, but hut could work as well. You never really have the last letter pronounced, anyways. So yeah, anything else? Meager measure of compassion. I always like to look at the question mark clues or anything that's really of interest here. Um, well, like I mentioned before, some things are of interest, even though they're not clued in misleading ways or misdirecting ways. Just the variety of these things, like it's nice to have these words here. Mothra is another one. Oni is a nice one. So something I noticed actually with Japanese words. It just happens to be a lot of Japanese words showing up in puzzles, and I think the reason for that is because um, Japanese has a very even distribution of consonants to vowels, which is very favorable for crossword grids. Because something interesting you could do if you had a lot of time is to go through a grid and sort of shade in all of the, or just circle all of the vowels, and you'll see a lot of the time they form these diagonal patterns. You have these patterns here where you have sort of almost like a checkerboard of vowels, and the sort of reason behind that is like um, because of the way syllables are formed. Of course, you have um, vowels in between consonants, and sometimes you have multiple vowels together. Sometimes you have multiple consonants together. Um, but if you want to have a grid of overlapping words where each direction is a separate word, you're almost always going to have some kind of alternating, like diagonals of vowels. Um, at least it's sort of a common pattern to have things like that. And the way that the grid is formed means that you have around half of your letters being vowels, which is a lot more than I think you would get in natural language. For instance, if you counted up the number of letters in a newspaper, I think you would not get an equal number of vowels and consonants. You might get a bit more consonants. So um, it's nice when you have words that have an even distribution of vowels and consonants, and in particular, you have an alternating sequence of such. And Japanese seems to have quite a lot of them. So mochi is an example where you have a C and H together, but I can think of words like norimaki, teriyaki as well, which is just alternating vowels and consonants, which are always very nice. Oni's alternating kabuki. What else are words that I know? Samurai is not exactly, um, but yeah. Just in general, I feel like Japanese is one that gets represented actually quite well now. Just seeing, um, like how many they have shown up previously. Um, Although it's always nice to get these once again. It's like I'm always I'm a fan of mochi for one actually. So I enjoy seeing this here. And something to think about. I once had an opportunity to have like a Russian word in a puzzle that I was making once. It was actually between either a Russian word and a Japanese word, and I was so tempted to go with the Russian word. So the Russian word was pierogi, which is a kind of sort of a street food that you might see, sort of like wraps, like a sort of bread filling with something else. Um, but it was just really difficult because like pierogi has like a Z and H and a K all like in sequence together, and the words that crossed it were just not the best. They were not the most ideal words. Like they were just kind of obscure. And in the end, I went with the Japanese word because it just gave me a much better grid at the end. So I mean, it's not definitely not a scientific conclusion or anything, but it's just a observation that I've made about sort of the way that language works, especially with puzzles, crosswords in particular. So yeah, not really much else to say about this. I mean, I I suppose the theme is quite self-explanatory and it is very strong. I'll also say I didn't really give it much enough attention to this. I think the theme this time, but um, it was simple. It was elegant. I remember seeing quite a lot of elegant themes recently. One of them was just Groundhog Day, just repeated throughout the grid over and over again. So just things like that, just like simple ideas. Doesn't need to have anything too complex to it, just things like this, symbols, figures, signs, things like that. That's it. That's all you need. It's a good puzzle. I really enjoyed it, and the fill was perfect as well. Nothing, no notes about it. Yeah.